Have you ever noticed how some people enjoy pushing your limits? They act as though your time and emotions are optional, interrupt, or make passive-aggressive remarks. We are merely meant to smile and ignore it, are not we? Not now, anyhow. This is the video for you if you are sick of putting up with disrespectful people. Today, I am dissecting some brutally honest, and perhaps a little controversial, methods of dealing with disrespect without becoming angry or compromising your dignity. You will have all the tools necessary to demonstrate to others where the line is drawn by the conclusion of this, so fasten your seatbelt. Let us get started. 1. Accept the quiet gaze. Now, let us begin with the silent stare, which is one of my favorite, slightly brutal techniques. You may be asking yourself, really? Simply gazing? Believe me, nothing disturbs someone more than a prolonged, serene, and utterly unperturbed gaze while they are being blatantly disrespectful or unpleasant. This is the reason it works. Disrespecting others is typically done to get a response. They want you to stutter, become agitated, or lash out. They want to make you feel inferior or question yourself by entangling you in their drama. However, the power dynamic abruptly changes when you simply look at them without saying anything or making any facial movements. I understand now. Listen, I know this seems a little passive-aggressive, but there is something really unnerving about someone who does not react the way they expected. You are expressing, without using words, I am not playing this game with you. When you maintain a steady, silent gaze, it is a method of taking back power without doing anything. And sometimes the most forceful and unambiguous no you will ever express is that silent stare. Allow me to share a story with you about how this method worked like magic. One guy kept interrupting me at a group discussion, as if he were on a mission, and spoke over me. Loud, arrogant, and believing that everyone is there to hear his advice. You know the sort. I attempted to interrupt and to be kind, but he persisted. At last, I leaned back in my chair, crossed my arms, and simply stared at him for 5 continuous seconds without blinking or making any facial expressions. I remained silent. The tension was building, and the best part, the rest of the table began to stare at him, unsure of what he might do. Do you know what came next? He seemed uneasy, stammered out what he was saying, and abruptly turned his head away from me. For the remainder of the meeting, he did not interrupt me. More was accomplished by that motionless gaze than by any words. He actually began treating me with more respect after that, as if he had finally recognized that I was not someone he could bulldoze, and it did not only stop his conduct in the moment. There are moments when you need to express who you are without using words. This is more than just a power move, so let us take a closer look. Accepting the quiet stare serves as a reminder to both them and yourself that you do not have to follow their lead. You do not have to prove yourself to those who do not think you are valuable, and you do not owe anyone an emotional response. This is about taking back your privacy, tranquility, and self-respect. When someone acts disrespectfully, we all too frequently feel compelled to defend ourselves, argue our position, or worse, to ignore it out of a desire to avoid making a scene. However, the silent gaze, being grounded, unconcerned, and unapologetically in control of your own emotions, is more important than being aggressive. It also has to do with responsibility. People who are accustomed to treating people disrespectfully frequently act without even realizing it. They have never received criticism or faced serious repercussions for their mistreatment of others. Giving them that deadpan, silent expression is like holding up a mirror. They are abruptly left to deal with their own actions. Most people do not like to view themselves that way. Therefore, you are demonstrating them rather than telling them they are mistaken. This is the reason it works. This silent stare technique, I have found, not only makes the other person back off, but it also makes you feel better about yourself. Standing there motionless and mute serves as a reminder to yourself that you are unshaken by their words or deeds. When someone questioned my decisions, I used to be the kind of person who would tremble and try to defend myself or laugh off offensive remarks. But to be honest, that only made me feel worse and sapped my energy. It changed everything when I learned to simply gaze at someone and let that stillness to permeate the room without giving in. It seems to be a silent but forceful statement of self-respect, a tiny act of rebellion. Try the silent stare if someone is being impolite, pushing boundaries, or making you feel inferior. Take a peek at them. Give them the weight of your composure. The discomfort it causes them and the sense of empowerment it gives you will surprise you. The message conveyed by the silent look is that I respect myself too much to be drawn into your negativity. 2. Accept silence as your response. Silence is another extremely underappreciated tiny secret weapon. One of the most effective ways to deal with disrespect is to say nothing at all. I get what you are thinking. Silence seems insensitive, as if you are allowing them to get away with it. The reality is that silence is anything from passive. It is a decision, and occasionally, it is the most audacious and outspoken response you can provide. When someone is being negative toward you, they are attempting to make you feel small or defensive by entangling you in their drama. However, it compels them to sit alone with their own actions when you do not interact with them, and instead just let their remarks linger without answering. That quiet? It is really loud. The reason this works so well is that people who treat others disrespectfully typically anticipate a response. They are seeking an altercation, an explanation, or just approval of their actions. However, quiet tells you that I am not putting my efforts into you. You can maintain control of the conversation and let them know that I will not put up with your rudeness by remaining silent. Not talking is sometimes the most effective way to communicate. I recall being in a scenario once where someone could not help but make these small jabs. You know, the kind of person who tries to pass off their insults as harmless fun and disguises them as jokes. So one day, obviously trying to pull a raise out of me, he says something totally unrelated about my job. I would normally have tried to clarify my position, or perhaps even responded with a retort, but this time I simply glanced at him, arched an eyebrow, and said nothing at all. I allowed him to experience that uncomfortable silent pause as his words lingered. Do you know what took place? He was unsure about what to do. After giving me a quick glance, he looked down, muttered something, and continued. He did not try to pull that off with me again after that. He seemed to understand that there was no power to be gained if I was not responding. The beauty of quiet is that it deprives disrespect of the attention it so desperately needs. The larger lesson is that you are choosing yourself when you choose to remain silent. You are declaring, I value my peace over your opinion of me, which is revolutionary as well as liberating. We frequently feel under pressure to react, defend our decisions, explain ourselves, or establish our value to individuals who, quite frankly, do not care about us. However, you are breaking their rules if you choose to remain silent. Without doing anything, you are taking a stand. You are telling them that you do not deserve what I said. And regaining your vitality is more important than only managing the circumstance. Quietness is a filter. By keeping out the negativity that people try to put onto you, it helps you maintain your tranquility. You liberate yourself the instant you cease feeling the need to answer every offensive remark and every passive-aggressive remark. You begin living your life according to your own terms and cease allowing others access to your inner world. 3. Quit outlining your decisions. Okay, so many of us will find this very poignant. Quit justifying your decisions. How many times have you made a choice on your own and then had someone question you right away? Why? You did that. But why? What prevented you from attending that event? What made you accept the position? It appears that people believe they have a right to an explanation for everything we do. However, the truth is that they aren't. You do not have to justify your life choices to anyone. You are the one who makes them. It may sound contentious, but let us be honest. When someone questions your decisions, they frequently do it with the intention of passing judgment rather than understanding. They want to expose flaws, get you to question your own judgment, or make you feel better about their own choices by making you question yours. And what do you know? You are under no obligation to comply. You regain your independence and demonstrate to them that your life is not debatable when you stop defending yourself. Let us take a closer look at why individuals first feel so entitled to an answer. People typically bring up their own fears when they challenge your decisions. The fact that you have chosen a choice that suits you but not them may make them feel threatened. They therefore press you for explanations in the hopes that you will provide a rationale for your choice that will reassure them. The catch is that you do not require their approval. Nobody has to comprehend or concur with every decision you make. Therefore, keep in mind this the next time someone attempts to ask you why you did something, whether it is a decision you made for your career, your personal life, or your boundaries. You owe them nothing. You do not have to justify your decision to say no, your vacation, or your investment. It is their problem, not yours, if they do not appreciate your choices. Simply respond, "It is my choice," or "because I want to," if they press. Then proceed. Giving a thorough explanation for each action you take is not necessary. You are in charge of your decisions, and the instant you begin to explain them, you cede control. 4. Establish limits earlier rather than waiting for the breakpoint. Let us discuss boundaries since, let us be honest, they are really important, but can be difficult to enforce at times. Most of us have experienced it. We freeze when someone says something offensive or goes too far. We do not speak right now because we plan to address it later. However, later never materializes. Rather, we suppress our annoyance until it explodes, which makes it more difficult to deal with the issue without becoming defensive or emotional. The key is to establish boundaries early on. Avoid waiting until you are on the verge of losing it. Call anything out right away if it makes you uncomfortable. This simply indicates that you are not letting things go, and it does not have to be combative. Keep in mind that setting boundaries is about taking charge of how you are treated, not about dominating other people. And it will be simpler to preserve dignity and respect in your relationships the sooner you develop that. Authentically, without the weight of other people's expectations, you stop wasting your energy on explanations and start pouring it into actually living the life you want. There's a powerful lesson here. Your life doesn't need an audience vote. Not every decision has to be analyzed or approved by others. When you stop explaining yourself, you're letting people know that you're confident enough in your choices and don't need their approval. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a truly confident person breaking down their decisions for others? Probably never. People who own their lives don't need external validation. They know that the only approval that matters is their own. Look, I've been there. I used to be the person who'd give a full PowerPoint presentation on why I was doing something, just to get people on board. But over time, I realized that explaining myself to everyone was only making me second-guess my choices. So I made a pact with myself. If someone asks me about a decision, I'll answer briefly, maybe give a sentence or two. If they push for more, I smile and move on. And you know what? Life got a lot lighter. The more I stopped explaining, the more confident I became in my own decisions. So, here's my challenge to you. The next time someone questions your choices, resist the urge to explain. Just say, "Because I wanted to," or "That's what felt right for me." Then let the silence speak. Watch how powerful that simple statement is. You'll feel stronger, more in control, and more at peace with yourself. And the best part, you'll realize that your choices don't need anyone else's stamp of approval. They're valid simply because you made them. Keep your distance. Let's be real. Sometimes the best way to handle people who don't respect you is to just keep your distance. I know it sounds harsh, maybe even a little cold, but here's the hard truth. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. If someone's consistently disrespecting you, one of the healthiest moves you can make is to give yourself some space from them. This doesn't mean you hate them or that you're being dramatic. It means you respect yourself enough to protect your energy. Keeping your distance isn't about being mean or ignoring people. It's about choosing where and how you spend your time and energy. Imagine your life as a limited access club. Not everyone gets a VIP pass. If someone's constantly crossing your boundaries, making you feel small, or just radiating negativity, why on earth would you keep them close? It's okay to step back. In fact, it's crucial. Distance can give you the clarity to see things as they really are, freed from the fog of emotional manipulation or guilt. Think about it. When you keep people who disrespect you close, it's like inviting them to a mental and emotional buffet where they can criticize and judge as much as they want. And then we wonder why we feel drained, anxious, or frustrated. Giving yourself space from these people is an act of self-preservation. It's about protecting your mental health, preserving your peace, and making room for people who actually respect and uplift you. Letting go of the guilt around distancing yourself can be liberating. You're not obligated to keep disrespectful people in your orbit. I'll share a little story. I once had a friend who would always find a way to make snide comments about every choice I made, my career, my relationships, even my taste in music. At first, I thought, well, that's just how they are. Maybe I'm overreacting. So I kept them around, kept trying to brush it off, thinking it wasn't that big of a deal. But over time, those little jabs started getting under my skin. I realized I was walking on eggshells, always bracing myself for the next criticism, the next joke that felt more like a punch. One day, I decided to try a different approach. I didn't make a big announcement or call them out. I just started limiting my time with them. Instead of seeing them every week, I'd see them maybe once a month. And guess what? I felt lighter. I felt freer. And in that space, I realized just how toxic that friendship had become. Distancing myself gave me the mental clarity to see that I deserved better friends, ones who would build me up instead of tearing me down. Here's the thing. Some people are going to tell you that keeping your distance is selfish. They'll say, but they're family, or you've been friends for years. It can feel uncomfortable, maybe even a little taboo, to admit that someone you know well just isn't good for you. Society tells us to be loyal, forgiving, and nice. But at what cost? Here's a little secret. Protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's necessary. You're not here to be anyone's emotional punching bag or their constant source of validation. Sometimes the best way to show someone you've had enough is by simply stepping back. Here's where it gets deep. Keeping your distance is a powerful reminder that you are your own priority. You don't have to play the role someone else has assigned to you. You don't owe anyone access to your mind, your time, or your emotions. When you put a little space between yourself and disrespectful people, you're making a statement that your well-being comes first. And that's not just self-care, it's self-respect. Distance also gives you the chance to refocus and focus on the relationships that matter, the ones that genuinely uplift you. Think about it. The more time you spend around people who respect you, the more confident and fulfilled you feel. The less time you spend around those who tear you down, the less room they have to impact your thoughts, your mood, and your life. I used to feel so guilty about distancing myself from people, even if they weren't treating me well. I'd think, what if they think I don't care? Or maybe I'm overreacting. But over time, I learned that distancing myself wasn't just about removing negativity. It was about creating space for growth. When I started giving myself permission to distance myself from disrespectful people, I felt a new kind of freedom. I had more energy, more peace, and a clearer vision of who I wanted in my life. Hold your head high. All right, let's talk about an old-school classic that never goes out of style, holding your head high. Now, I know this might sound like generic advice, but trust me, this one is pure gold when dealing with people who don't respect you. Here's the thing. When someone is disrespectful, they're banking on making you feel small. They want you to doubt yourself, to lower your eyes, to shrink into yourself. But when you stand tall and hold your head high, you're saying without a word, I know exactly who I am, and nothing you say or do will make me feel less. Here's what's powerful about this. Confidence makes people uncomfortable, especially people who disrespect others. Why? Because they rely on the idea that their words or actions have the power to influence you, to control you in some way. When you refuse to let their disrespect touch you, when you literally stand taller and hold your head up high, you're showing them that they don't have the power to bring you down. You're unbreakable. And people who thrive on disrespect don't know what to do with that. It throws them off balance. It makes them question their power, not yours. I remember being in a situation with someone who just couldn't resist throwing little insults my way every time we met. You know the type. Always a smirk. Always a joke that feels more like an attack. I used to try and brush it off, but honestly, it got to me. I found myself starting to dread being around them, feeling like I had to defend myself every time. But then one day, I decided I was done feeling small. I showed up, shoulders back, head high, and every time they made one of their little comments, I just looked them in the eye, smiled, and carried on like nothing had happened. And you know what happened? They actually started backing off. It was like they could sense that their comments weren't reaching me anymore, that I was too far above that nonsense, and suddenly, their power faded. There's something magnetic about holding your head high. It's like a silent force field that says, I'm untouchable. Here's where it gets a little spicy. People who don't respect you often hate seeing you confident. It messes with their worldview. They want to believe they're above you, that they've got something on you. And when you walk around confidently, it disrupts that narrative. To them, it's almost offensive. Society doesn't always know what to do with people who are unapologetically sure of themselves, especially when they refuse to let others' negativity define them. And let's be real, that can make you a bit of a target. But here's the thing, holding your head high isn't about them, it's about you. It's about living as if you're fully aware of your worth, as if you've got nothing to prove. And that can feel like a radical act of self-respect. When you hold your head high, you're making a statement about your self-worth. You're declaring that no matter what, you see yourself as valuable, deserving of respect, and inherently enough. Here's the deeper message. Self-worth isn't something you earn from others. It's something you claim for yourself. No matter what anyone says or does, your head remains high, because you know who you are, and that's all that matters. And there you have it. The power of standing strong in your own truth, setting boundaries, and choosing peace over approval. Remember, your life is yours to live, and you don't need anyone's permission to be authentic or to protect your energy. So, the next time someone tries to bring you down, just hold your head high and walk away with confidence. If you found this video helpful and empowering, don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more content that inspires and uplifts. And hey, if you have any thoughts or experiences you'd like to share, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.